Okay, so this is Math 1150, Chapter 8. Chapter 8 is mostly a review of beginning algebra. Okay, I'm going to start with transition to intermediate algebra. Transition to intermediate algebra. And in section 8.1, I'm going to review of equations and inequalities. So this stuff we did do in Math 1100. It should be a breather for you. So let's review the steps for solving linear equations. Okay, steps for solving linear equations. What's a good idea that I suggest you should be doing while you're watching the video is at the same time look over the notes that I have posted on D2L. That should help you a lot. So you don't have to write what I'm writing down because it's all posted on D2L. The first step is to distribute. And why do we distribute? So we can clear out all the parentheses. Then we want to clear out all the fractions by multiplying by the LCD, the least common denominator. Least common denominator. And then we want to combine like terms, the numbers together, the x's together. And then you want to move variables to one side and constants to the other side. So move variables to one side of the equation. Numbers to the opposite side. And then you want to isolate the variable. And finally, you may check your answer. So those are the steps, and of course we are going to see a few examples just to refresh your memories. So the first example that I want to show you is to solve the equation for r. 5 times the quantity r plus 4 equals -2 times the quantity r minus 3. So since we have parentheses, we want to clear those out by using the distributive property. 5 times r is 5r, 5 times 4 is 20. And then on the other side of the equal sign, -2 times r is -2r, -2 times -3 is +6. There are no like terms on either side to combine together, so we want to move the r's to this side by adding 2r, so we get 7r, drop the 20, equals drop the 6, subtract the 20, so 7r, 6 minus 20 is -14, divide the 7, and there we go. You may check your answer if you like, but I am not going to. The next example is going to have fractions. A plus 1 all over 4 plus 2a minus 3 all over 4 equals a over 2 minus 2. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually add these two fractions because they have the same denominator. So a plus 1 plus 2a minus 3 all over 4, that's going to be 3a minus 2, because 1 minus 3 is -2, all over 4 equals a over 2 minus 2. Multiply by 4 over 1, that clears out the 4, and I get 3a minus 2. 4a over 2 is 2a, and then 4 times 2 is 8. subtract the 2a, so we get a minus 2 equals negative 8, add the 2, a equals negative 6. The next example is to solve for a, where we have 8 times the quantity 3a minus 5 minus 4 times the quantity 2a plus 3 equals 12. Again, we start by distributing, so we get 24a. 8 times 3a minus 8 times 5 is 40, and then minus 8a, and then 4 times 3 is 12, so minus 12 equals 12. Combining like terms, 28a minus 24a minus 8a is 16a, and negative 40 minus 12, which is negative 40 plus negative 12, is negative 52 equals 12. So the 52 has to be added to isolate the a. We get 16a equals 64, so a is 4. If we divide 16 into 64, we get 4. Now, all the equations that we've been solving so far are called conditional equations. The next, conditional in the sense that they're true for a specific value of the variable. Unconditional equations, when we say unconditional, they could mean to be an identity or a contradiction. An identity is an equation that's always true. It has infinitely many solutions. And then a contradiction is never true. It has no solution. Okay, so let's see an example of each case of the unconditional equations. Like, for example, if you have x plus 4 equals x plus 3, and you try to solve it by subtracting the x, you get an equation that's nonsense. It's a contradiction, meaning no solution. Because you can see that this equation is never true. 4 will never ever equal 3. On the other hand, if you have 2x minus 6 equals negative 2x plus 4 times the quantity x minus 2, so we're going to start out by distributing the 4. So we get negative 2x plus 4x minus 8 equals 2x minus 6. Add like terms, negative 2x plus 4x is 2x. And then move the letters to one side by subtracting 2x, get negative 6 equals negative 8, which is also a contradiction. Okay. So another concept in this section is formulas. So when we say a formula, what we mean by a formula, it's an equation with 2 or more variables. It's an equation with 2 or more variables, like distance formula. The distance equals rate times time. Perimeter of a rectangle is twice the length plus twice the width. And area of a circle is pi r squared. You can see these are examples of formulas. Now when we say solve a formula for a specific variable, we mean to isolate that variable. For example, now if you look at your textbook, number 40, page 610, solve for L, where L is the length of a rectangle. Perimeter equals twice the length plus twice the width. So to isolate L, we're going to subtract 2w. P minus 2w equals 2L. And then to isolate L, final step is to divide the 2. And we get P minus 2w over 2 equals L. And we get L isolated. Now number 48, page 610. 48, page 610. If you want to solve for A, where we have h equals 48t plus 1/2 at squared. So to isolate A, we want to first subtract 48t. So h minus 48t equals 1/2 at squared. And then times by 2 to get rid of the 1/2. So we get 2h minus 2 times 48 is 96t. 2 times 1/2 is 1, at squared. And since I want to isolate A, I gotta get rid of t squared, so divide by t squared. And we get A equals 2h minus 96t over t squared. Okay, so this is the first half of 8.1. The second half is about inequalities. And to solve inequalities is exactly like solving equations. The only thing you have to watch out for is when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must flip the inequality. So when multiplying or dividing an inequality by a negative number, we must flip the inequality. So if it's less than and you divide it by a negative, or greater than and divide it or multiply it by a negative, you must switch it to the other side. For example, if you have negative 2x minus 4 is less than 6, that's how we know it's an inequality. It has less than. So first we start out by adding the 4. We want to move it over to add it to the 6. We get 10. Now we have to isolate x. To do so, we are dividing by a negative 2. So we are dividing by a negative number. And since we're dividing by a negative number, we flip the inequality. And we get x is greater than 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. So that's an infinitely many solutions. We gotta graph it. And we gotta write our solution using interval notation. Negative 5 and more, so it's gonna be all the right side of negative 5 is shaded, not including negative 5 because it's greater than, so we use parentheses if it's less than or greater than. We use brackets if it's less or equal or greater or equal. Brackets means the value where the bracket is included in the solution. Parentheses means the value is not included in the solution. Also, you need to write it using interval notation. That's a must when you're solving inequalities. So you're starting at negative 5, not including negative 5, all the way to infinity. So you put infinity here and you put a comma to include everything to the right of negative 5. Number 60 from your text, page 610. Negative 2x plus 6 is greater or equal to 16. So we're going to subtract 6. Negative 2x is greater or equal, that's a 10. Divide by negative 2. X is greater or equal 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. And what did I do? I forgot to switch this, so it should be less or equal to negative 5 because I divided by a negative number. So to graph it, we start at 0, go 5 units to the left to get to negative 5. And it's less or equal, so that's less all the way to negative infinity. Equal means you put a bracket there, and then you write the interval notation negative infinity all the way to negative 5, including negative 5. Alright, another example. 3x minus 5 is less or equal to 5x plus 10. Now, if you want to subtract 3x from 5x, you get negative 5 is less or equal to x plus 10. Move the 10 over. That's negative 15 is less or equal to 2x. Divide by 2. Negative 7.5 is less or equal x, which is the same thing as x greater or equal negative 7.5. Your x should always be on the left. So when you graph it and do interval notation, it's easier. So greater or equal to negative 7.5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So negative 7.5, it's greater or equal. So negative 7.5 all the way to infinity, and we have a bracket because it's greater or equal to. Alright, number 100, page 611. We have a quarter of x minus 1/3 is less or equal to x plus 2. So first, we're going to get rid of the fractions by multiplying by the LCD. The least common multiple of 4 and 3 is 12. And we're not flipping the inequality because we're timesing by positive 12. 12 times a quarter x is 3x. 12 times 1/3 is 4. 12 times x is 12x. And 12 times 2 is 24. We want to minus the 3x. So we get negative 4 is less or equal, that's 9x, and then drop that. Subtract the 24. Negative 4 minus 24 is negative 28. And then divide the 9, and no flipping because we're dividing by positive 9. And if you switch it around, x is greater or equal to negative 28 over 9. Now we're going to graph it. That's like 3 and 1/7, negative 3 and 1/7. Negative 28 over 9 greater or equal to infinity, and negative 28 over 9 to infinity. Okay, a few more examples. One I want to do from your text is 82, page 611. They want us to solve for x. It's a little bit not complicated, but it's just got some more work. 1 plus 3, and then bracket, negative 2 plus 6, and then inside the parentheses 4 minus 2x, and then equals negative x plus 3 in parentheses. So when we have two sets of brackets or parentheses, we want to do the innermost ones first. So distribute the 6, that's 24 minus 12x. Bring everything else down. And then inside the brackets, this is just distributing the negative. So we have like terms, that's 22 minus 12x. We're going to times by 3 and then add 1. So that's 66, 3 times 22. That's 36x, and then plus 1 equals negative x minus 3. 1 plus 66 is 67. Everything else comes down. Add 36x. So we get 67 equals 35x. Drop the 3, and then we got to add the 3 to both sides. We get 70 equals 35x. Divide by 35, we get x equals 2. X equals 2. Okay, that's that. And next example, is 88. I want to do one with decimals, so 88 from page 611, 0.03x plus 0.05 times the quantity 6000 minus x equals 280. So we're going to distribute 0.03x plus, if we reach to our calculators, 0.05 times 6000. Let's all do that. It's 300 minus 0.05x equals 280. 0.83x minus 0.05x is negative 0.02x. And then if we subtract 300 from 280, we get negative 20. Divide by negative 0.02. X equals 20 divided by 0.02. Negatives cancel out. 20 divided by 0.02 is 1000. Okay, that's it for this section.